My name is Shani George. I'm a psychotherapist and founder of Culture Minds Therapy. My role is to take therapy outside of the office and to you all at home. I bring to you the mind behind your favourite guests. We speak about mental health, therapy and self-care. Hi, welcome to Therapy with Shah. Today joining me is a very special guest. She is a DJ and broadcaster. Please welcome Andrea Zara. Thank you for coming today, Andrea.
Thanks for having me.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, a bit of brain fog today, but I'm all right actually, yeah.
Lovely, lovely. So when it comes to mental health, we're here to speak about mental health and encourage healthy conversations within all communities. So with yourself, you are an advocate for ADHD because that's something you struggle with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I could call myself an advocate, but I do know that I speak about it publicly because it's something that I've gone on a journey with recently, like in like the last couple of years. So it was kind of a big revelation to get a diagnosis like ADHD so late in life. And so I just thought maybe there's other people, like especially women like me, who have been like living their whole life and not really knowing what, you know, how their brain operates. And then maybe that my diagnosis will help them to encourage them to get their assessment. And so far it has, like I've had so many DMs since I've been speaking about my journey. People just DM me like, oh, you know, I saw this thing that you posted and now I'm going to get my assessment. And
wow.
So yeah, that is really one of the reasons why I speak about it publicly.
Yeah. So that means you're inspiring a lot of people. When were you, or we do hear from research that girls in particular, ladies in particular, they do get diagnosed quite late on in their life. So for yourself, when was you diagnosed with ADHD?
So I was diagnosed in like August 2020.
Oh, okay. So just recently.
Yeah. So I pursued a master's degree like 10 years after my undergrad. And I noticed that like on the more creative tasks, like presentation, more visual tasks, I would, you know, excel at. And then when it came to more organizational tasks like essays, I would really struggle. And so I was encouraged to get an assessment for dyslexia. Went to this educational psychologist who did this really extensive test, like 3-hour test, and all this other stuff came up. He was like, yep. At the end of it, he said, you've got dyslexia, you've got dyscalculia, and there's a very high chance you've got ADHD, but I'm not qualified to diagnose it, so I suggest you go for an assessment. And then that's like got the ball rolling for all the ADHD kind of diagnosis. Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
I got diagnosed at 31.
Oh, 31.
Yeah, so I'm going to be 33 like in about a month's time. But I got diagnosed at 31. And for the last 2 years, basically, I've just been learning about it every day. Like there's so much that I still don't know and that I'm learning, and that more studies are coming out now, obviously, because like back in the day, one of the reasons why so many women and their diagnosis is coming out of the woodworks is because all the studies were done on young white boys. So there was no way for us to know about what the symptoms would be for women. So and for girls. So you know, I just think that we're going to see a lot more diagnosis now and more people speaking about it now that the studies are
out there.
Yeah,
and people can be more aware of it. How did that make you feel being in your 30s and being diagnosed with ADHD?
It was weird because I was reading about the diagnosis like response, and one of the articles that I saw said that you go through the stages of grief.
Oh, wow.
Which was, I didn't anticipate that was going to happen, but I did go through those stages, but it wasn't like, I think some of them were you know, you kind of deny it and then you get depressed about it and then you have all these flashbacks.
Okay.
And then you have to accept it. But then you don't, it's not necessarily linear. Like sometimes,
it's not static, it's up and down.
Yeah, like so sometimes you'll be having a good day where you accept, what you've been told about yourself, and then sometimes you feel really like defeated, and it's just a roller coaster. But I think after 2 years of like reading about it and learning about it, and more people coming to me privately and saying how much me speaking about it has helped them, I think overall, like, I feel really just relieved that I know what's going on now.
Yeah. And like you said, getting that sense of relief that you know what's going on with yourself, and you don't have to question yourself or think, what's wrong with me, and you actually have, well, I don't really like to call it a label, but you have a name to what you're struggling with.
Yeah.
You work in the creative industry, so as a DJ, you're around creatives, you're in that industry, and it is a very fast-paced industry, very busy. 1 minute you're there, next minute you're somewhere else. How do you manage with your ADHD and being able to work in that environment?
I think my ADHD lends itself to the creative industry really well.
Oh, nice.
In some ways, you kind of at an advantage, because I need constant stimulation, and I need, like, my brain thrives off of that, and I need deadlines and urgency and novelty, and because this is such a fast-paced industry, it feeds into the sort of the understimulated brain that I have very well. Where I struggle though in this industry is meeting deadlines. That's always been an issue for me, and I guess for anyone who has ADHD, and also any kind of organizational tasks. Obviously it helps, like, I work in radio as well, so there are producers that will help you with organizational tasks and planning and prepping and stuff like that, but there is an element that you have to do yourself. And so I struggle when it comes to like organizing things, but in creative brainstorm meetings, like, that is where I excel. So like we have creativity in abundance, it's just that we can't see the box. It's almost like, when there's that saying that says think outside the box.
Yeah.
People with ADHD think outside the box. We can't see the box.
Okay.
So like we actually don't know where the lines end, beginning and end. So I think that's where, someone with a different kind of brain could work really well. Like a neurotypical brain and a neurodiverse brain could work really, really well together.
That's very interesting. I like how you said about thinking outside of the box and being creative. So it's almost like the career that you're in matches you, your personality, and what you're going through. One question I was going to ask is, in that industry, you said that producers will help you and people like managers. Do you get other help? So psychological help. Is there much psychological help in that industry?
I think there's a lot more that can be done, if I'm honest. I think that, but I guess that goes for every industry, because I'm sure that every industry have their own individual stresses. But I think that the nature of this environment, where it's so fast paced and there is so much dependent on that final product, I think there is definitely a lot more that can be done with regards to mental health in the creative industry, for sure. But at the same time, I'm taking that on myself to take the responsibility to make sure that I'm looking after my well-being, outside of work, so that I'm performing at my best when I'm at work.
I love that. And I love how you said there needs to be more done in the creative industry, because that's the industry I work in, and that's the industry I want to help more people in. So having people like you come here and speak about it and say that more can be done. What more do you think can be done in that industry for people who struggle with ADHD or any other mental health difficulty?
I think it still feels like people don't really know exactly what ADHD is.
Okay.
Like, it took me a long time to understand it as well, and that's with the diagnosis. But I've found that since I got diagnosed with ADHD, I've had to find really kind of bite-sized ways of being able to explain it to people. So I think education is one of the first things the first task that needs to be done with regards to mental health in the creative industry. More people need to be educated on different types of neurodiverse diagnoses, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think more people need to be kind of clued up on what the needs are for someone who's neurodivergent.
Definitely. And I think we are coming along those lines. We're getting there slowly but surely.
Yeah.
I think with COVID, mental health has become a hot topic, and more people want to learn about it. More people want to understand how they can take care of their own mental health. And one of the things that you did say was you're learning to take care of your mental health and kind of help yourself within that industry.
Yeah.
What ways are you taking care of your mental health?
So I meet with a coach now. Since the assessment, I have basically got someone who is specialised working with my type of brain.
Oh, amazing.
So they're helping me with not just, because even with like your day-to-day life, if you feel more organised in your day-to-day life, it impacts your well-being in a positive way. So they're helping me with the day-to-day struggles that I have, which in turn benefit my well-being. So it's not just, it's kind of like a 360 thing where, yeah, they're there if you need like more counselling and support, but then also like with an ADHD coach, they can help you with organisational tasks that most people wouldn't necessarily struggle with. Just even like basic things like organising your calendar or like
but that's organising your calendar can be quite overwhelming, especially if you've got a lot to do.
Oh yeah, but like times that by 10 for someone with this brain, because the thing is, I remember the first time I met with my coach, and I had this pile of papers of like to-do lists, because I just kept writing them and then rewriting them and just putting them in a pile, and then I had to like pan the camera over because it was like a Zoom coaching session, and I had to like pan the camera over, and I was like, look, this is my pile of doom. And he was like, right, we're gonna sort that out first thing. So that's just like one example, but then that gives me a mental clarity to then not feel so overwhelmed, you know, in the rest of my day, and then feel more in control of my life. So it's just small things like that really do make a difference.
Okay, anything else? So you've got a coach.
Yeah.
Is there any other things that you're doing that help you take care of your mental wellness and self-care?
I'd say meditation has been a crutch for me since I've learned about it, like maybe since 2017, 2018, I think I started doing it properly. I was using the Calm app initially, and then got like my streaks, or you get like little rewards on there if you keep up to, like, if you do it every day.
Okay.
But then after that, I found that I didn't need to like do it all the time, and I just use it when I need to. So I'll use it if I'm feeling overwhelmed, like even if I'm just walking down the street, or I'm about to go into a meeting or do something really nerve-wracking, or I'm so wired that I can't sleep, you know, thinking too much, overthinking. So I just use it as a tool, and it's been really helpful for me. So I think meditation is another really good way to look after your well-being.
I love what you said about the creative industry, because some people that might be quite a scary industry, but you said it's kind of helped you, and you're able to kind of think outside of the box and be creative. So that's nice to hear. And
because it's like probably a lot of actually you'd be surprised how many neurodivergent people are in the creative industry.
Oh wow.
So like the head of Bauer is dyslexic. And I spoke to him at an event, and I was telling him about Mark, because he was interested in pushing more sustainability within the company. And I spoke to him about the diagnosis, and he said, yeah, I was dyslexic and I used to be a newsreader, and I would drop certain stories because I couldn't read those news bulletins. And now he's like the head of a massive group. So like,
so this raising awareness is helping more people come out and speak about it, and, you know, like you said, not feel like they're aliens, essentially. Because we're all different. We all go through our different struggles, and it's just, and this is why I love my interviews, because I get to meet people who are creative, who can share their story, because everyone struggles differently, and we don't have that picture of what someone's struggle looks like. It
No.
can be so different.
Yeah.
And we can come together, have conversations like this, inspire others.
Yeah.
And that domino effect will 100% happen.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's why I came to speak
Yeah,
to you. I was
definitely.
glad that you reached out, because I was like, is there any way that I can help with raising awareness of these things, I would always, try and dedicate some time. So yeah.
I know this interview is going to inspire many people, and as you have said, a lot of people have reached out to you. What would you say to someone who feels like they have ADHD, maybe contemplating about getting an assessment, but not too sure? What words of encouragement would you give them?
First of all, I would say there's nothing wrong with you. And secondly, I would say if the articles and the symptoms resonate, then go to your GP, get an assessment. And if the GP doesn't advise it, keep pushing, because ultimately you know what's right for you.
Okay. You mentioned about GP not advising it. Have you ever experienced that yourself, or is that something you know can happen?
It's something that I have heard about secondhand from somebody else. So I read a lot of comments online. There's a really strong social community online. Actually, that's been one of the best things about social media for me, because I'm not a massive fan of social media, but I can see the benefits of it in some ways. And with regards to the ADHD community, it's such an amazing space, because you don't feel alone like an alien. There's so many people in the same boat as you, and a lot of the experiences that people share are like, of their GP. Somebody said, my GP has recommended me not to get an assessment because I'm high functioning, whatever that means. So that kind of thing is this, only you know
how you feel.
Yeah, exactly. So when I went to my GP, initially they said it's 3 years for the assessment, for the waiting list.
Oh, wow.
And I just thought, and I was at uni at the time, because obviously I went back to do my master's, and I just thought, I'm gonna fail uni by that point and wait for 3 years for this assessment. No way. So I had to go and get it privately.
Okay.
But that's a privilege in itself, so there's definitely a lot of work to be done, with regards to the healthcare system and mental health. And I can't speak for every area of mental, because mental health is so huge, but first-hand experience of the waiting list issues with ADHD, I think, 3 years it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a very, very long time. And, as you said, thankfully you were able to go privately and kind of get your assessment. But you're doing amazing, you're doing amazing. And even speaking with you and getting to know you, because we see you on social media, you're doing great things, but, really talking to you and getting to know a bit more about you and that other side to you has really opened up my eyes as well, because you're amazing. You're doing great things. You've done a master's. How was that?
I'm still halfway through.
My God.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle because there's a big issue with regards to disability support.
Okay.
Had I known about this, I don't know if I would have gone down this route, but it's been put in place to help students with disabilities, to give them access to more support. Unfortunately, the way that the system is set up, it's so archaic. You have to fill out all these forms and then wait for weeks or months on end sometimes. And then by that point, the semester is gone. So then what do? You've already failed your term.
Okay.
So that sets you back again and again and again. So that's happened to me for 3 years now. I think I started my master's in October 2019. And I'm still just about to finish my first year. So I'm going into my second year this September, and hopefully with everything in place. But I guess a pandemic didn't really help the situation. That's kind of unusual. Maybe had we not have had the pandemic, it wouldn't have set me back as much. But there is a big issue within the educational system as well with regards to disabilities and mental health and support, that it's the system is just so backlogged and it's taking so long that students are getting their support, and then as a domino effect, it's impacting their studies. I have a tutor for uni specifically, and he said to me that a lot of his students with disabilities have dropped off the course. And it is, so it's a shame. It's a shame.
Definitely. Well, continue doing what you're doing. You are very inspirational, and I know you're going to inspire so many people. Thank you for speaking with me, and take care.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you.